and because of that, BRK might have a slight edge here. Now, let's take a look at the bans for this match and see what maps we will and will not be going to.
I think a lot of people were surprised, not necessarily just that FaZe lost, but also that it was a 2-0 in favor of Liquid. It wasn't quite as close as I think people were anticipating. I know that both you and I thought that we were assuredly going to a third map, and that wasn't quite the case.
I did feel that way, yeah, and it was definitely a surprise. So our first bans are out, well, all of them actually. BRK banning first, FaZe banning second, Clubhouse Bank Border, Coastline Skyscraper Cafe are all gone. And we'll see where BRK chooses to bring us first. It's going to be Consulate as our first map, and Chalet will be the follow-up. So, haven't seen as much Chalet recently as, if you look further back in Pro League history, it was kind of a common map. Now it's kind of in the back end.
One thing that tends to happen when teams and rosters stay together for a very long period of time is their map pool grows as they get more experience playing with one another and learning the ins and outs of the maps. We know that, as you saw on the right-hand side for FaZe, they had immediately banned both Coastline and Skyscraper. Those are almost always FaZe's first two bans, so those are obviously comfort picks. And then Cafe going as well. It could just simply be a map that they're not that practiced on, but with that deep of a map pool, it must be pretty comfortable going to Consulate. Consulate's a map that every team in Latin America typically knows how to play.
I think, generally speaking, Latin America as a region, most teams are pretty well versed to going to a multitude of maps. They don't really. It never seems like one team will just get isolated and out in the open with their map selection. There usually are contingency plans in place, and if not, one thing that Latin America is famous for is being able to fall back on their baseline skill to pull themselves through maps that they're maybe not so familiar with.
So we pull you, as always, to see what you think of the matchup today, with BRK being as popular and well-known. I would imagine that this might be a little close, but no. Not just because of the size of the org, but also the reputation of the team. That is a lopsided 84 to 16%.
I mean, we talked about it earlier. FaZe has been in the spotlight for a pretty long time from the Latin American region, as of late at least. I think BRK maybe not as much sharing in that light. So they're going to have a lot to prove to the community today, but they definitely have the skills to do it. Let's load into the match. Again, the first map will be Consulate.
So we'll start off for our first skirmish between these two teams. Titans of the Latin America scene, as we also called the Liquid versus FaZe matchup. And for FaZe, it's not going to be an easy road to the playoffs. Of course, they weren't able to take their group because Liquid prevailed. And by doing so, the loser of that matchup, should they win this one, have to face off against Black Dragons. So your victory prize, if you are BRK or FaZe, is, hey, enjoy playing Black Dragons for a spot at the playoffs. And as was mentioned by Milos and Emzo, Atlantic City!
So exciting.
I'm very stoked.
I've never been to Atlantic City before. Have you, Parker?
You know, I can't say I've been there.
Yeah.
I have not.
Looking forward to it.
The Las Vegas of the East. as they don't probably call it, but I'm going to call it that.
We'll just roll. We will roll with that.
We'll roll with it.
So, as you said earlier, BRK up on that top floor, and they are going to be bringing a very versatile roster. They have a good amount of anchor with that mirror window, and they're also going to be playing Pulse downstairs. Now, of course, that Pulse downstairs is going to delay the attack quite a lot, if not completely sting them from below. I mean, that C4 is a very versatile piece of utility that specifically Pulse is also efficient at using on this map. Very destructible floor here on Consulate.
One thing that is going to be on the top of my mind as we watch this match play out is, if you look in the top left corner, Mav playing Blitz. Now, he didn't have the greatest of days last time we saw them. As Blitz, I think he disappointed, and you have to question whether a player like Mav, who has significant fragging potential and is relied upon on that team. I mean, hey, who on FaZe Clan doesn't have fragging potential? But you have to wonder if that's a good use of his skills. I mean, look at North America. BC is one of the best projectile players in the game, and he's been playing Lion recently, and they've taken him off of Buck and the ability to use those frag grenades. So Mav on Blitz, is that going to be a smart choice or not? And that's something that we'll see get played out.
I mean, we've had the same conversation about Pengu on Penta. He's a player who is very commonly referred to as being one of the best fragging players in the world, and he's been playing a lot of shields recently. But if you can make it work, you can make it work. I mean, really just comes down to your ability to do what your team needs you to do. And I think that's just what Mav's going to be the guy. He's going to be the guy to step up and do that. And I don't think that's a problem. But as you say, it could easily work against them. We'll have to find out.
The one thing that they will be provided by is Mav having the ability to relay all the information he sees as Blitz. Of course, a lot of these teams using the Blitz as essentially a human drone. We saw that just a couple seconds ago as Mav had opted to push in through yellow stairs, go down to the basement, and see if they could find any roamers. Now, with Consulate, you're going to always want to drone out all 3 floors no matter where the bomb site is, just because of the way that the map is played, and that's exactly what FaZe is doing right now. But they're going to be very short of time. They've only got a minute left, and they haven't really used a lot of the utility or gadgets that they have available to them.
Yeah, it's very worrisome the way that FaZe is choosing to address this round. I mean, they've got a lot of people on rappel, kind of outside the building, looking for picks, looking for those roamers, but their only form of direct aggression and confrontation of the site itself is, of course, going to be Mav on those yellow stairs. But again, as you say, very little time in this round. So flashbangs coming out from Astro. Mav control over the top of yellow, but he's got to push through a very nasty bottleneck and a potential crossfire on the other end of that door frame.
And you'd seen some smoke grenades be deployed as well by Cyber. The first kill is going to go to the Jaeger of Diogo as BRK now adds 2 onto that, and FaZe loses some significant utility. Now Astro engaged with a tense fight as Cyber pops off. A great round from the smoke thus far. He'll get punished by the Blitz, and PX is there to catch him, not allowing Mav to get that oh-so-vital kill. And BRK on defense will take round number 1 with FaZe there. A victim of time, and BRK read the push, were able to move the bodies over into that console office where they knew the attack was going to come from, and there was just no chance for FaZe whatsoever. BRK, a very strong hold.
I mean, yeah, let's just be honest. That was mostly what just came down to time management for FaZe Clan, as you said. Victim of time, but also a little bit victim of themselves, allowing it to get to that point. And they really should have put a little bit more effort into managing their clock. And it happens from time to time. It happens every once in a while that you will see teams lose track of the clock. In fact, it's often frequent when you have a team like FaZe who's going to take BRK very seriously. And in the early rounds, it could just be the case that they're starting to feel out BRK, and they might take a little bit. They might take some more rounds to get to the point where they feel comfortable attacking BRK outright. So hopefully FaZe Clan will develop on that, and they'll be a little bit more on top of it moving forward.
You always hold your breath when you see a shotgun being used for that destruction and somebody runs right by. I mean, you want to say that this stuff doesn't happen at this level, but it absolutely does. We saw it with Soon TM, now known as Obey Alliance, had gotten an unfortunate team kill when I believe it was Bosco killed my man inside of Oregon. So for FaZe, they'll opt to go downstairs, and with Consulate, it's not unusual to see every single site defended within the first couple rounds. Right now, Consulate office upstairs has already been played out by BRK, and because they won, they will have to go to another site. BRK, a very successful entry, though, as the Legion of Moringa will no longer be available to them, and that is all of those constantly generating goo mines unavailable for the defense.
Yeah, that's a tremendous amount of utility to lose, and there's another one for BRK. Navi's really popping off here. Cameraman goes down, and now FaZe Clan at a decided deficit already just a minute into the round. That is not going to be boding well for the defense.
The scoreline for FaZe in that Liquid match had Cameraman pulling more than his fair share of weight, and I think one of the reasons why was because you had Astro and Gohan entering and having to contend with the entry, most importantly, of one of the most aggressive and adept players in all of Latin America in Nesk on Liquid. So Astro and Gohan getting isolated and shut down meant that the secondary fraggers or the support rules on FaZe had to carry this out. Now with Moringa and Cameraman going down, the question is going to be, can Astro and Gohan be able to pull this through? With Gohan right now situated on an anchor, and he doesn't even have the MP5 on that Echo.
Yeah, the Supernova might actually benefit him if he's dealing with a locker hallway push, but he's got to position himself properly, and it looks like he's a little indecisive as to where he wants to hold exactly. Now he's going to see PX droning him in through the main hallway and focus his attentions towards that very same hallway. However, he's got to deal with a Blitz shield was laying down the smokes, and the E1D is popping off, cannot move, and he is effectively a dead man. One will finally finish off Gohan standing in the small office. Astro in a good position, but the shield impervious. No! Astro, what a headshot with the ADS from the Blitz. Mav also gets PX. Navi's will get Mav, but Astro keeps it going for his team in a 1 versus 2. This is a good position. Now the E1D is going to call the red light, and he will have to stand still. Moving in front of a mirror window is always dangerous, but it worked out for him this time. He sees the throwable from that Lion. I believe that was a drone, and that's going to give away Lion's position. 30 seconds here. These attackers have plenty of time. But Astro gives away his position with a quick tap onto the doorway, narrowly missing that shot. The final E1D pops off the flash, and Diogo goes down! No more EE1Ds. Na'Vi has half HP. It's even between the two players in terms of HP, but position definitely in favor of Astro. Through the wall, his teammates are calling out with the marks, with the information, using the Valkyrie cams, the moving from the no! The sledge can't handle it! Astro wins the round! What an excellent hold from the man himself! And the attack, which seemed to be in dominant form, falling flat in the final minute of the round.
It feels like we had just asked if we could see Gohan and Astro carry more than their fair share weight, as if they didn't against Liquid. And I mean, Astro answered that question right there with an exceptional round.
That really should have been a BRK round.
Absolutely.
Through and through.
100%. You can't really rely on winning rounds by one person clutching when put in the unenviable position of a 1v4. You really can, or a 1v3 or a 1v2.
What have you.
Glorified as it may be. And are we also going to ignore that Astro started that off by taking out a Blitz in a tight close quarters engagement inside of staff area to get that 4K?
I mean, there's so many things that were played properly there by Astro. The way that he positioned himself was really beautiful. His teammates calling out so much information with the Valkyrie cams, giving him what he needed to clutch it out. You saw he was conscious of the sledge pushing through the rotation hole in the kitchen wall, and he was able to pre-aim exactly where that sledge ended up being. So good teamwork there for BRK. You know, it's often lost on a lot, on even us, when we see that information being utilized by either team, and we can't exactly tell unless there are marks going down. But it's always worth remarking on that that wasn't just a clutch from Astro. That was a clutch from Astro, and his entire team giving him the info he needed.
And those Valkyrie cams, a lot of times you'll see teams dispatch the Valkyrie cams well off-site. One of the biggest issues with that is that when the push actually does come out, or you're faced in the final 10-15 seconds, you cannot have the information relayed to you as effectively of where the attackers are pushing from. Not the case here, and FaZe had situated one of those Valkyrie cams just above pipes, giving them a full window inside of staff area. And that was what was helpful for Astro to be able to know and push accordingly. Now, third round, and we see the lobby. So 3 rounds, all 3 sites have been defended on Consulate at this point. BRK opting to not go to the garage just yet. They've set up heavy up top as is usual. And then, of course, you've got the mirror in the bathroom as well. Nothing really that bizarre.
I honestly really love Consulate for its versatility and the diversity of bomb sites often selected. I mean, we talk about it every time we get to Consulate, but it is something worth noting. You know, a lot of maps in Siege, you just don't see this sort of thing. And it's something where, I think that needs to be valued. Now, BRK have already done a good job of delaying the round. Or I say that, but really it comes down to FaZe, yet again with poor time management. They haven't gotten much of anything yet, and we're already past the halfway mark. So FaZe need to start, well, stepping to BRK and trying to confront them, get into fights, and take this control.
Where even are FaZe at this point? It doesnn't look like even half of them are on the map. Are they all stacked up on yellow? A wonderful whirl of the throw will get tossed in, but PX responds, and both those grenades, just a bit too much mustard on them as they go sailing by, but Gohan there to finish things off with his rifle. So both those projectiles will be somewhat useless, even though it takes out half his health. They're opting not to push at all up top. Gohan gets a second kill, this time on a Navi's, and they see the Echo isolated. Can Gohan go for a third? He will! 3 from the buck, and they've cleared out the site. That'll make the smoke and the Valkyrie on BRK have to retreat. They've got full control. Though those Valk cams coming in quite useful, a Lion will isolate 1 this time, and he'll get taken down. 4 for Gohan. Can he get the 5th and close it off? Cyber takes out Cameraman, and BRK will need to mount their comeback. The diffuser is down, and keep in mind, the Buck, though, nowhere to be found. Mav will push in, and he will take that ace right out from Gohan. It's a team effort as the blitz of Mav finishing things off, and that's 2 in a row for FaZe. BRK loses the lobby. We'll see where they go on their next defensive round, but first, FaZe moves to defense.
So despite poor management of the time from FaZe and kind of a single direction of in terms of the attack there, only coming from the yellow stairs, BRK just wasn't able to hack it. I mean, as long as you can win those fights, that's all that really matters in the end. And Gohan, what an entry from him. I mean, I say an entry, a flank watch, everything. Now, maybe a little bit too much mustard, but he made the complete sandwich for his team, and that's the important thing. You get it all rounded out. Now, top floor defense from FaZe. And I believe that they have yet to go here. This is their first time going to that top floor, and it's going to be an interesting one, that's for sure.
So we asked the question, can Gohan and Astro show up? They were isolated and shut down by Liquid, and they have already had a better start to this match than they had in the previous entire 2 against Liquid. So right away, answering the question and answering that call as well. And this is the style that FaZe has relied upon for so long. They have a lot of depth with Moringa, Mav, and Cameraman as supporting roles, but traditionally, you'll see a lot of carry potential from Astro and Gohan, and I think that this will probably continue unless BRK can find a way to shut it down themselves. If they can't, I think we're going to see a lot of rounds similar to both 2 and 3. But we know that BRK has the potential to be able to answer back.
I mean, they won the first round, and they seemed like they had FaZe on their toes. So there's, as you say, that potential is ever present. Now, Astro is going to be seemingly juggling his ADS in admin office, or maybe just second-guessing whether he wants to put it down or not. Whatever the case, playing admin office firm, and he's got a lot of teammate support. He's got the Pulse downstairs in the basement calling out information for him. He's probably got a Valkyrie cam, and he also has the Mira, who is playing inside a cafeteria with his own Mira window. That's Gohan, watching these admin office windows.
This is something that we saw from Obey just a couple days ago when they played on Consulate. You would have the Bandit and Mira playing very heavy inside of Copier, as well as that closet, and then have a Jaeger situated with a couple ADSs. He'll shoot away at those XKROs. Can he get them all in time? Yes, Astro can, and that will save the Mira. That's something that doesn't show up on the scoreboard, but could have just possibly saved you this entire round, depending on the way the push comes in.
So influential having that Mira window up. It means that BRK is going to have trouble getting into that admin office, and there's a heavy setup to hold the East here from the defense, but it's the right call, as that seems to be all BRK cares about. They are entirely focused on this admin office, and Astro, Gohan, and Cameraman are denying them this position. Of course, Cameraman from down below. You can see that one of the attackers has moved his way into Visa, and Camera is going to be the one to try and confront him, but it's all about timing with that potential flank. Visa stairs are treacherous. Meanwhile, we aren't seeing much from BRK. Repelling on the window, we're going to see Diogo go down. Astro, what a perfect peek there, and the Lion of all operators to lose.
One absorbed some damage into that shield as the Blitz has managed to make his way into office. And wow, he gets a kill onto Astro. That was a nice shot through one of those cubicle walls as they'd essentially traded off. Navi's the sledge had been taken out too. They will finally get that Mira window, but right now, one doesn't have an opportunity to get into the actual office. It's going to be the Mira just simply playing around that dilapidated Mira window, but PX and Cyber are down. One will get a second kill onto Gohan, but it's the Blitz as the last member of BRK with only 30 seconds to go. We'll get choked off by some smoke, and we'll have to push in towards Long Desk to see if there's going to be a flank from Spiral. There is. It's Mav the Valkyrie who will get a beautiful shot through the door onto the head of one as he had lowered his shield, and that'll be it. FaZe now takes 3 rounds in a row. What a shot that was.
Well done to him coming up from below. Not much influence at the beginning of the round, but it doesn't matter if you can lock that round out. And FaZe now in tip-top form. They seem like they're not struggling like they did the first round. Everything coming into place. The time management is there. The holds are there. Everything is working as intended. BRK, on the other hand, they tried to take admin office, but they didn't really have any tools in the toolkit to properly fix the problem of that hold from FaZe Clan. So they need to reevaluate, come back to the drawing board on that push, and find an answer for the Jaeger inside of admin office, as well as the Miro window, besides just Excaros it and push in. I mean, we saw Navi's, I believe it was, rappelling on that printer window looking for the nades, but the nades never landed.
Not even that, they opted to have a sledge double up on the sole operator that can shut down both of those grenades, which is the Jaeger playing on top of an ADS, and it was then they subbed that out. They got Diogo in there before one could establish his presence as the shield. If maybe the Blitz had gotten in a moment sooner, then Diogo as the Lion could have potentially kept living for a little while longer and doubled up on that Jaeger. Now, this could be a 2-2 situation because of the fact that round number 2 went to Astro after that insane clutch. How much do you think that clutch has empowered his team and given momentum in their favor and allowed them to play with a bit more confidence?
Oh, I can tell you from experience that really is something that does give you a lot more drive. When you see one of your teammates clutch like that, it really instills a lot of confidence in every single one of the people that you are sharing shoulders with. And a lot of it has to do with the fact that also there was teamwork involved in that clutch. It wasn't just Astro. You have to remember, there was the information from his teammates to give him the tools he needed to win that round. And it just feels, like you say, empowering, you know, and I'm sure that FaZe, coming off of that, it's a big reason that they have now chained together so many rounds, 3, as a matter of fact.
So one thing that FaZe has done on this push a little bit differently is just simply speed. They've been able to get inside a lot faster, and when I say inside, I mean just inside of the building. They had basically dispatched Mav to go roam clear downstairs, but he's already begun to push, and one early smoke from the defense will go off as Cyber expends one remote gas grenade. Of course, Navi's was downstairs as the Pulse, and he was looking potentially for an entry to try and deny that push even faster, but he will manage to scoot off as he once again descends the Visa stairs and will go back onto the first floor, possibly for a run out. This is something that Navi's had done before to see if somebody's rappelled up, and he'll get cameraman on drone. That's the Lion, and that is a huge and high priority pick for BRK, and that'll be the first frag of this round, coming at about the halfway mark.
As you say, very impactful. And we were talking about time management. It seems like FaZe is struggling yet again. Not sure what's going on here. This, of course, is a defense of the top floor from BRK, which is the only round that BRK has been able to win so far on Consulate when they defended the top floor in the very first round of the map. So FaZe now, they need to change the past, change history in a way, just to get this win in here, to get it, put it on match point. But BRK are looking poised well to deny them that outcome. So, bathroom hold well in way for the defense. FaZe, not much control other than top of yellow stairs. And here comes the utility from both teams.
That was the last smoke, though. The Jaeger, isolated in the bathroom, will now begin to push out. Mav trying to land those shots and will take Diogo down to just a shred of health. As Astro pushes in, Cyber tears him to shreds, and now it's an advantage of 2 for BRK. But Diogo goes off. They trade that with Gohan getting the kill before getting traded from Navi's. BRK still holds an advantage. They can double up on FaZe at the moment, though amidst the chaos, Moringa is getting a plant down, and it's Mav who's going to come in to try to deny it. A C4 goes off, it misses its target. Mav takes out Navi's, and Diffuser is successful before Cyber gets a kill. Mav, a valiant effort, but BRK too overwhelming. They'll have no problem cleaning up the last of FaZe, and BRK will take their second round. Both of them coming upstairs onto that console office, and you've got to think, FaZe has some issues attacking this site, sure, but BRK has looked damn good both times they've come up here.
The top floor really seems to be the home of BRK, and the problem is they're going to need to win rounds elsewhere in order to get this map, no matter what. So if the trend continues and the BRK are unable to break free of that top floor defense being their only successful place, then FaZe will take the map pretty easily. I mean, we're going to see them move on to defense now themselves, and they will go down to the garage. Now, of course, this was where Astro was forced to clutch. BRK had a very good round here in dealing with FaZe, picking them apart, but ultimately they couldn't deal with the singular player of Astro, and that's why they lost. Now, as you said earlier, that could have been actually 3-2 now in favor of BRK, but because of one player's effort, it isn't.
FaZe, for some reason, has an inability of getting in the building outside of yellow stairs. And Mav was able to take all of that space away from BRK quickly. BRK also fell off, knowing that it's probably best to not contest that blitz head on. And allowed Mav to push up yellow stairs. The smoke choked him off, couldn't allow him entry into the sites, which is what you'd expect from the defense of BRK. But the other 4 members of FaZe all seem to languish either on rappel or on the roof of Consulate without much purpose. And you have to wonder, why would you not change that up? Why not try to push admin? Why not try to go in Visa and maybe have a secondary push up the Visa stairs? What is the thought process behind that? And if FaZe wants to win this, yeah, BRK has to go somewhere else next round, but eventually they will have an opportunity to go back up to console office where they've looked so good.
Yeah, honestly, I'm not exactly sure what's going through FaZe's heads with that particular attack strategy. I mean, another interesting thing is we aren't seeing a lot of Blackbeard utilization. I mean, if you're going to be doing a lot of repelling, why not a Blackbeard? It's the perfect operator for that circumstance. But instead we see things like Habana, or operators like Habana, repelling on the B windows when attacking the top floor. It's confusing, sure, but that was the last round. This is now, and the garage wall has been opened up. Good use of the thermite charge there from one, and you gotta imagine the BRK are very happy with having that open so early. Only a minute into this round, very efficient attack thus far. Now, Astro on the top floor is going to be able to wreak havoc from that position. Having the floor open, he didn't even need to use his own impacts. Teammates did it for him. This is going to allow him to deny the immediate push into white.
There's a lot of bodies from FaZe on that second floor, and this was a story that FaZe had against Liquid too, was they would just have far too many people off site, and when the push came, even though it was an innovative hold, they weren't able to get back into the site quickly enough. You see that there is Moringa, Astro, as well as the Valkyrie of Mav up top. It's just going to leave Gohan and Cameraman down to contend against this push. And I mean, BRK was able to take that garage entry away from FaZe, but now really haven't done that much with it as they still try to find out where these remaining 3 roamers are.
Yeah, they spent a whole minute doing it. Now Astro coming down the Visa stairs. Cameraman will get Navi's, and Astro's in a great position here to get Thatcher, and he does! What a headshot onto Cyber. Cannot get the second and walks away limping with very little HP. Diogo unable to get that refrag, but at least he scared the Vigil off. Now still top floor control well in hand for FaZe, and BRK have limited options here. This looks like a surefire win for FaZe overall, but there's still potential to come back. Now 40 seconds, and the attack is going to still just keep on droning, which is not going to aid them very much against a Vigil with his great positioning.
Astro being escorted by the Yokai drone up top. Because of the deficit right now that BRK finds itself in, their best bet is going to be just to simply get this plant off and hope that they can prevent the retake. 1E, 1D will go off, and you can see it's a pincer move from BRK, and it does not pay off, as 3 very fast kills from FaZe will end this round and move us to match point. At that point, when you have a 3v5, you got to get that plant and just hope for the best, because FaZe can just bleed you dry on time as well as fight for trades and take away all of your utility at that point.
It's unlikely that BRK was aware of this, but the Yokai drone was on the top floor, and that opened up a lot of opportunities for them to go in for that plant in the front of white, as you say. So that potentially could have been a very easy round had they put more emphasis on the actual garage panel. The interesting thing is also, they spent so much time droning, and they didn't find the roamers. Then they pushed into the building after droning and not finding the roamers, and then died to those roamers, instead of just pushing the garage panel that they opened early in the round, where they only had to confront 2 defenders. So a little bit of a misread overall from BRK. They eventually got to the idea of attacking through main garage door, but it took them way too long. They were already at such a man count deficit that it didn't matter. Now, moving on to the defense of the middle floor here for BRK. I believe they've not gone here before. This is their first time going to this site, or no, excuse me, the second time going to this site. My mistake, I thought it was FaZe who went here earlier. But they were not successful, and most of the reason was, of course, the Mav, I believe, or no, excuse me, it was Gohan clearing from the yellow stairs, using that buck, hitting the roamers downstairs, and pushing his way into the site, with almost no contention whatsoever from the BRK defense. They were unable to win the fights.
Most teams have to have some viable strategy for all 3 sites on Consulate, usually for a number of reasons, but there are a couple teams that we see play that almost never go down to that basement, down to the garage to defend and opt for the lobby. And I mean, we talk about this on many occasions where it's your control from above needs to be so important. And I mean, if you've got a good hold on that second floor already, a lot of the times parts of that can translate to your hold on the lobby and strengthen that site as well. And I mean, for some teams, it's just simply preferable to actually go into the garage itself. BRK likely one of those teams. Now, early on, Gohan is going to toss a grenade down, and Cyber will manage to get away with probably around 10 HP. And a dock, though available for BRK, means that Cyber, who actually is even less than 10 HP, completely blind just by the main desk next to the console office, manages to get away, and they have not been successful. FaZe has not been successful at finding the smoke and taking care of him.
Yeah, and he's likely to be healed up in just a second here from Navi's over by the long desk. Good teamwork there to get that done. Now the smoke will still be viable in this round, not dying to a single bullet, possibly 2. Mav pushing up to yellow stairs control. We've seen FaZe put a huge emphasis on yellow stairs throughout this entire map, whether on attack or defense, and they're going to continue that strategy. Now, it's seen mixed results overall, but of course, since BRK is not defending the top floor, it's probable, in fact possible, that FaZe will be able to lock this map out, as that is the only place that BRK has been successful so far.
Mav has been their main go-to on those yellow stairs, and then when they were attacking lobby last time around, Gohan accompanied him and was able to, you know, throw those frag grenades into the bathroom where the mirror was playing. Now, Mav will get downed and reset very quickly. They still have about a minute left to play with, as both teams have their full teams available to them. Navi's is down 1 stim pistol, but other than that, not a lot has been deployed or used from the defense, so they're going to be fighting fit when the push does come. But as for the attackers, a different story. Astro start things off with a double as he just charges into the bathroom, and no chance for 1 or PX. He'll go for a 3rd. Astro is unstoppable today. Cameraman taking out Navi's as Cyber punishes Moringa means that it's all up to the smoke above, and it's a 1v4 on match point. BRK possibly moments away from losing their map as the Sharks will start to circle, and BRK is isolated inside of the console office. In runs Mav, and the blitz will be the go-to. He'll blind the smoke, pull out the pistol, and that is it for map 1. FaZe takes it by a score of 5-2. Mav, whose blitz play I may have questioned at the start of this game, might have been a bit misplaced, as Mav shows up and shows up big. But Astro, the real story of that round.
Now Gohan as well. Overall, just a great team effort from FaZe. Well done to each and every one of them. Now, that was probably one of the most brisk maps we have had in Pro League for a while now. And it seemed, despite it being 5-2, almost as if it was a little bit more one-sided. The only place that BRK saw success was defending that top floor. And that you just cannot get away with.
Now, it could have been a 4-3 as well. Let's keep in mind that one garage hold that we saw from FaZe fell apart. If it wasn't for Astro getting that 4K in that round, it would have been all over. And who knows, that momentum with BRK snatching 2 early rounds could have been a big deciding factor in the outcome of rounds 3, 4, 5, and so on. But for the time being, FaZe looked to be indomitable, and now they also have the benefit of going to their own map. So they'll go to Chalet, possibly be a bit more comfortable there, but as we said, FaZe is a very deep map pool. They're not probably disappointed with any of the 3 maps that they might have to play today.
I can't see FaZe going to any map really and not having at least 1 or 2 tricks up their sleeve. Now going on to a map that they purposely picked, of course, they're going to have quite a lot of definitely an easier time. I mean, it's the sort of thing where it's just familiarity and it's practice. And I am worried for BRK. You know, it seemed like they struggled a lot on Consulate. I'm not sure what was going on there. It was not just FaZe playing well, but also some mistakes on BRK's side. And they're a very, very good team. And the expectations we put on their shoulders are just because they have the skill to deliver. So maybe a little bit of an off day just to start it off. But there's always potential for a team to wake up in the second map, even if it's not their own map.
Right. And for BRK, they will need to find whatever magic that they had on that top floor hold on Consulate, because I mean, their season could potentially be over. They were only one map away from finishing somewhere between 5th and 6th, depending on the seeding matchup, and failing to make it to the playoffs. And that would be a big blow to a team that has been around before, and all of these players have been experienced enough that they know what going into the playoffs is like. Maybe not LAN, but at least playoffs as a whole. And when we say LAN, of course, it's important to remember that most of these Brazilian teams do play on LAN at BR6. So they have that opportunity available to them. With that said, Chalet is up for us as map number 2. FaZe taking map 1. It was BRK's choice. So now we will go to FaZe's map, and we'll see if they perform any better, any worse. Can BRK stand tall against FaZe? And very quickly, we'll come right back to us to admire our great choice in clothing and that wonderful background we have.
I really like your shirt today.
I really like your shirt today.
Yeah, no, it vibes with the blazer as well.
I think it's nice.
It's good, yeah, and the haircut, very snazzy.
We got haircuts.
Well, I didn't get a haircut.
I just got a beard trim.
And Gaston got a haircut as well. He looks really nice.
Doesn't he?
He looks. I love it. The way he's doing it, cut on the sides, perfect for him. It fits his face perfectly.
It's so in. So long, haute couture. You know, hello Milos.
Yeah, he would say that though.
Fresh cut for Milos in chat, please. Can we get one of those? Hashtag get it trending.
So let's talk about this match though. So we were just on Consulate, and one thing I really want to point out about the way that FaZe was playing, and one of the things that they were struggling with was the repelling. So you may have noticed all of FaZe's attack was focused on yellow stairs, and when attacking the top floor, they were repelling an awful lot. So those two things. Yellow stairs working out for them great. Honestly, that allowed them to win so many rounds, and that being their entry point was a good strategy, at least in this match. But every time they wanted to repel, it just fell apart for FaZe. Now the thing is, the problem with that, we're going on to Chalet, probably one of the least repel-heavy maps in the entire game. There are just not many influential places that you can repel on this map. Oftentimes you find yourself contesting things from balconies, but that's a different deal altogether. So it's very likely that advantage that FaZe seemingly has on everything other than repelling is going to just get emphasized on Chalet. At least that's what it seems like going on into this map.
There's a certain strength that FaZe looked like they had in a boots-on-the-ground scenario, and yeah, you're absolutely right. They looked very uncomfortable on repel, which is why I was so confused that they wouldn't try to, plant themselves inside of admin. It just... I mean,
that's the normal strat, right?
Right, and it was very puzzling that FaZe seemed to just disregard that. But you're right, Chalet occupies that same spot as, maybe an Oregon, maybe a Clubhouse, where you just repel lines don't really happen. I mean, there are ladders there for you. Even when you want to repel, you can just climb up them.
And then oftentimes you can't repel in some positions on Chalet. There's just a lot of spots you just cannot. But all that, just speculation. And it's only one part of the gameplay. And we're going to get into Chalet, now the second map of this series with FaZe up 1-0. And I mean, it's only one part of the gameplay, but it's such an influential part, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's often something that doesn't get talked about all that much. And it's kind of interesting how big of a part it plays.
And speaking of that discomfort with repelling, Cafe Dostoevsky was FaZe's other ban outside of Coastline and Skyscraper, and that, of course, also a very repel-heavy map, and maybe just a discomfort in general with the whole concept. Now, FaZe will start on defense this time around. Originally, BRK looked like they were going to, so FaZe opting to go onto defense for round number 1. And would you look at that? They're going to go with Kitchen Trophy. That is bizarre.
You know what FaZe needs to do? They need to get Kush on their team.
He's great on repel.
He is formidable.
And he's actually back in Pro League now, too.
Welcome back, Kush. It's good to have you, man. But yeah, no, he's a very old player. Most of you probably not familiar with him, but he talked to a lot of the older North American pros, and they will tell you about how scary a Kush with Ash on repel is. And all that said, FaZe now, defense, as you said, we're going to see Cameraman setting up an anchor I guess a pseudo-anchor, more like a roam kickstart.
Aggressive site, I guess you could say, just playing aggressively just off-site.
Good save, Parker, thank you.
You're very welcome.
Over in Library, so Library a very important position to hold for the defense, especially if you plan on roaming in any context, no matter what the bomb site is. Ooh, I like that angle there from Mav, making sure he can get all of the drones, hurting BRK's drone economy. That's very important. Now, having that mirror window set up over in Library is, of course, going to be one of the primary focuses for BRK in all likelihood. The Twitch drone not going to be able to get the mirror window early on. That was a well-tossed Twitch drone from one, but it's not enough. And they're going to have to put actual boots on the ground, as we talked about earlier, to get the window before progressing into the roam clear.
And some of that library hold does look the way that you would hold a bar gaming setup. It does appear also that the final black Mira will go down in terms of placement. And Mira sees a lot of usage on a lot of sites, but not really Kitchen Trophy. She is not a must-pick the same way that she is oftentimes when you go down to Garage and Snowmobile Garage, or rather in Wine Cellar. So a Mira on the main floor is, I don't want to say unusual, but it is not as common as other operators. I do like what FaZe is rolling out here. It's unorthodox. You're running without a smoke, you're running without an ACOG, which is so common to maybe see a Rook or a Doc play inside of the dining room table.
Yeah.
And they're not going to have that. They've decided to go with a Mira, and they're going to put one of those mirrors up on West Main to be able to look at the stairs and establish control there and feed that information to their team when the push comes. Though Mav cluelessly sitting down in Wine Cellar, and it will be Navi's getting the very first kill. I believe he also got the first kill on attack for BRK last game too.
Yeah, he was one of the primary openers for BRK on that first map, and he's been having a great match so far. Now, that was, as you say, kind of a clueless position there from Mav. He should have had ample information to be able to deal with that situation, but he just not aware of the, was not aware of the roam clear coming from the Snowmobile Garage. Now, Astro playing aggressively in West Lobby. He will also somewhat cluelessly give away his life, and I'm not sure what's happening here for FaZe. The roamers are really out of position. Really poor timing, not enough information for the defense despite having a Pulse and a Valkyrie. And they're being caught out in the open often by BRK.
That's 3 operators that FaZe have that all can collect and gather all of that info for their team in the Pulse, the Valkyrie, and of course the Mira. And they've already lost 1, though losing the Ella as Astro is not that dire as an operator. A whole bunch of concussive bursts will go out, and Moringa is going to be holding on for dear life. But from above, Gohan just gives his position away for a second, does not time the EE1D correctly, and Diogo is there to catch him. That's the second kill for the Buck from BRK. But FaZe now trying to contend as Cameraman can take 1 out, and he'll be the last one left in an ace clutch situation. He'll get pushed, and that's 2, but that Vector does not have a large magazine. One of those Valkyrie cams will be able to provide information, and C4 from Cameraman will claim 1. Can he get the other? He tries for it, cannot connect, and he gets it. Cameraman is only 1 away. It was a 1v5, and now it's a 1v1 as he needs to find the Buck while the diffuser is down. It's going to hit the halfway mark, and Cameraman comes up into the bedroom, sees the Buck, but Diogo shuts that down. There will be no ace for Cameraman as Diogo is there to get his 3rd kill and close out the round. And for the second map, BRK will take the opener.
A great attempt at a clutch there, but it just was not enough. And BRK, all it came down to for them in that round was an amazingly efficient roam clear, followed up by an easy execution into the site with a decided man advantage. You cannot give away that many warm bodies that early in the round. You need to retain at least some amount of control outside of the actual bomb site as the defense on Chalet for a period of time at least. And the really puzzling thing for me is that we had such a heavy library hold, and then where'd it go? I mean, just what happened to those roamers in library? They seem to just evaporate. They threw it's a confusing play there from FaZe, but a great round from BRK. 3-2, 2 players on their roster really stepping up there.
I'm more surprised by how Mav just tossed his life away playing downstairs. I mean,
Astro in West Lobby.
Sure, I mean, maybe you're not expecting there to be that much presence in the Garage, especially when you're defending the main floor. But I mean, if they know that there's a Pulse or a Valkyrie, it's smart money that there's going to be someone playing below site with the C4 to potentially catch you, especially if you're playing in Trophy. But, I mean, that wasn't the case. Mav just simply got caught. There was nobody watching. I don't know if there was maybe a Valkyrie cam there that he was hoping to possibly spot a push on. I mean, it makes sense if he was watching that cam to say, "Oh, nobody's pushing me. I've got full control." But no matter what, it did not work. And that's just like you said. You cannot have those warm bodies be taken away so early on. And BRK going about 30 seconds into the round, still doing setup work to ensure that they have perfected this site. You can see that they shot out a great deal of the floor into Master. Now, that's usually something that the attackers would do, especially having a Buck or potentially an Ash up there, but it's the defense doing it themselves. Is that a smart two-way line of sight for the defense?
Yeah, having that hole in the floor, especially over by kitchen, that denies the vault through the master balcony window is, yes, generally a good angle to open up. But it's very common and often what? PX downed by the Twitch drone. It doesn't look like there's anyone who can save him. And Astro, oh no! What has just happened? PX goes down to a Twitch drone. Twitch drone kills in 2K18, I just don't get it.
No, but she doesn't need anything less than 30 tases. She's not that
You should give,
powerful.
honestly, she should have 50 tases per drone. I don't
understand. Why not? Take out everybody's lives. Mav will get the second kill for FaZe. You've lost both your Pulse and your Valkyrie. Interesting to see both of these teams double up on these information gathering operators. Yeah. Usually you would see either one or the other, and they're both already gone. Cyber will counterpunch, though, and Gohan is no longer a thing, and it will be Navi's jumping in as well to take out Astro. So both of the entries for FaZe have been shut down. That's your Twitch and your IQ that will no longer be available for the next 60 seconds, which is all that's left in round number 2. Once again, could we see ourselves in a situation where BRK is in the driver's seat and there's a valiant clutch from FaZe to take it away, just as we saw on Consulate?
Well, they're sure going to try, and here comes the EE1D, but no follow-up push. The attackers will just linger. They have plenty of time, so there's no rush. Cyber in a good position. If any of the attackers peek this kitchen window, he will get a kill. Doesn't seem like they're going to check the backup B site, but oh no, what just happened? One, you're not supposed to lose those. Moringa, a great entry, and Cyber will be detected downstairs. Navi's nowhere near the site. There was only one anchor, and FaZe Clan took full control over B. Now, can they get the defuse plan? They are going for it. They do have it. Cyber trying to retake. Will peek towards the window. He's very exposed in this position. He does get one, though, in the back of B. What a shot there from Cyber. And there doesn't seem to be an attacker in a position to deny him this disable. But there will be one who rotates over to the window. Cyber has to find two more, and Mav with an excellent pre-fire. The headshot comes down, and FaZe win the round. Not giving away the advantage that was just handed to them on a silver platter. Waltz into B, please and thank you. And FaZe did exactly that.
No. A smart read from FaZe, and BRK just caught out. I think what happened was the smoke of BRK, Cyber was trying to go for a push at the top of those trench stairs. The Claymore went down. He could hear that there was motion up top, possibly could have been able to ascend those stairs quickly enough and pick somebody off playing trophy window, because when you're that late in the round, it's almost a guarantee you're going to have somebody watching that trophy window, or at very minimum above in bedroom on that balcony. Now, because of that, when Cyber was trying to get back on the site, he got stopped in place by the EE1D and just simply was a victim of timing. Just could not be able to close that gap fast enough and ended up stranded off site while helplessly the plane went down.
Yeah, and we talk about how important those roamers are in the defense of Chalet. But if FaZe is able to, or really any team, if they're able to read that you have such a heavy roam game and just push the site, that's all it really takes. So, we will finally see a heavier roam from FaZe as they go over to kitchen yet again. And it seems like there's going to be a lot of the information gathering from FaZe yet again, but they haven't brought a pulse. So that's kind of an interesting rotation for them. And I think less information might not be the best idea here, but Gohan moving over to Doc, as we talked about earlier, will have the ACOG, and the reason having an ACOG on this site is also important, well, not necessarily essential, but important, is because you can play on the dining table and hold the B window all the way from the other side of the bomb site. So it's a very helpful role to have, especially, of course, Doc just being useful by his own.
When you're playing an ACOG at that position, you're usually only susceptible to being rushed from the double doors. And a lot of times teams will understand that. They will barricade off the double doors. And one of the benefits of having both of those doorways there is that you have plenty of advance notice that somebody is pushing you, because they have to take out one of those reinforcements before they can get to the second. I mean, other than that, the only real worry you have is possibly getting rushed from West Main if nobody's watching there, but someone usually has you covered. So it gives a lot of power to that ACOG. You can watch the hatch from upstairs in master bedroom. You can watch the window in a trophy, as you said. You can also, of course, watch West Main, and if need be, possibly even take an engagement at those double doors. Mav is going to use one of those C4s, and look at this. Moringa and Mav doubled up downstairs as Mav is now going to do escape. Does not get spotted, but there's a Jackal tracking him at the same time. Welcome to Operation Chimera. Mav, a shot through the wall. One is no more. How does the Valkyrie get away with that? And almost gets the second, brings out the big barrel of the Deagle, and will get pushed by the Lion, but Astro is there, and FaZe is completely rebuffing BRK. Now as Moringa takes out Navi's, it has been a minute and a half, and it's just the Hibana and Buck. And make that the Hibana as PX last alive. FaZe in the driver's seat. Only Moringa has sustained any damage, and there's still more than 60 seconds left for PX to try to work his way to site. He has the diffuser, but he has a pretty difficult job ahead of him.
What amazingly perfect timing and teamwork from FaZe. PX going for the shots, unable to hit them over by Big Garage, and he gets just run out on from Trench. Moringa locks it out. PX goes down, and FaZe in dominant form. I mean, every single time BRK had an opportunity, they tried to seize it, and FaZe shut them down with just another player ready to support the roam. I talked at the beginning of the round, it's a heavier roam from FaZe. Now, I wasn't sure that was the right call. Clearly, I was mistaken.
I mean, the one thing that does go in favor of Kitchen Trophy is that it's a very uncomfortable bomb site for you to sit on. That is part of why you will see players play aggressively above or below, just because there really aren't a lot of spots. You might have somebody playing inside a trophy. You'll probably have somebody playing at that dining room table, maybe have a body in kitchen, but not always. That's why it allows you to have those three bodies off site. And I was a little confused as well, because previously FaZe's multi-member roam had fallen apart very fast, and
yeah, that's why it was questionable to invest.
I also was very surprised at it, and I think you're absolutely right. And I mean, take a look. It's once again, we're going to double up on the information gatherers. You're going to have a Pulse and a Valkyrie yet again for BRK coming out. That was an option that was not used by FaZe previously, or at least on the most previous round.
Yeah, and that was the really questionable thing, right? More roamers, less information for the roamers, but it worked out, and that's what matters the most. Now, here BRK are going to be doing something very similar. They're going to be going for a pretty heavy roam, obviously. You can tell that just by their operator selection. I mean, Mute, we talked about the information game, but the anti-information from both teams, they've been really favoring Mute here on Chalet so far, and he does a good job at denying those drones, finding the roamers. Now, they're going to have some really well-positioned Valkyrie cams as well. Again, that info being so relevant here in this match so far.
I think one thing as well from the previous round to take note of was it didn't really matter who was or wasn't on site because they never even got there.
Yeah.
That dock that we had highlighted early on that Gohan was playing wasn't even needed. That ACOG was completely ineffective when every bit of action is happening well off site. Astro will get the first kill, and that's the Jaeger down. He was last seen playing just by Trench. The Twitch will be able to outduel him. It's pretty difficult for you to outgun an F2, especially at close range. As FaZe storms in up top, they have control of Master and will do some work on the bathroom as well. That's where the buck of Cameraman will be in order to deny possible pushes from the defense. Though, not that strong of a roam game for BRK at the moment. They have consolidated on site and will give PX an opportunity at least to give information to Cyber. That's the smoke playing inside of the dining room table. The only one that looks to be off site at the moment is the Valkyrie of Diogo, as one is anchored to. So they've got 3 of the remaining 4 tucked neatly in on site.
Yeah, and there's still plenty of time here for FaZe. They also have that vertical control, which means having so many anchors so close together, you could see a couple of them be thinned out before the actual assault comes in. Now, there's still, I believe, a C4 on PX. We'll find out in a moment, I'm sure. And he has that heartbeat detector, and he's going to be looking for a potential victim. So just nades start coming out from Cameraman to get the player in the back of B, and just a little bit of damage onto one, who will get a kill onto Gohan. BX gets his own, and Astro goes down. What seemed like what was a FaZe advantage is shifting away. Moringa will try to get the refrag and even it out, but Cyber finishes him off, and now it's just Camera and Mav in a 2 versus 2. What an excellent nade there. The second one coming out delayed, and now he has no more. Mav cautious of the run out that has happened previous times. And from above, using that vertical control, Buck will try to lay down fire onto one of the remaining players from BRK.
And it's PX and Diogo left. They'll be frozen in place for at least 4 seconds. Diogo moves ever so slightly, and Mav is able to jump into trophy window. He dispatches the Valkyrie, and it's all up to PX. While off screen, it's Cameraman able to close round number 4 out. And that is it. FaZe now 3 rounds in a row, and we are seeing an exact mirror image of map 1. BRK takes round 1, and then FaZe takes the next 3, and that's where we are right now. However, it was round 5 where BRK broke that streak. If they don't, it's going to be match point for FaZe on their own map, and it'll happen very fast.
So as the prophecy foretold, this is where we will see BRK get a round win. Now, they are going to, I believe, go on to a Death's Garage, I want to say. And that is a different bomb site than what we have seen them go, or seen FaZe go to in the past. Since, of course, they did win on Kitchen, they are forced to rotate. And generally speaking, we see the basement and the kitchen be the 2 most defended bomb sites on Chalet. Now, oftentimes, we will see a bar gaming room defense, which was, I think, popularized when Mira came out, really. But it is not going to be this round.
And on top of that is a site that sees more play, I would say, without doing any math whatsoever, without checking the numbers.
No statistics.
No statistics.
Statistics.
I would say that we see bar gaming more in Latin America, at least from the top of my head, than we do in any other region. And maybe it just plays to their play style.
I think they were the pioneers of the bar gaming defense. We also saw it a lot from teams like previously known as Flipside, now known as SK. You know, those are, I think, the North American strategy kind of pioneers. And it's something that, again, wasn't a huge site for a lot of teams at the beginning of Siege because it was hard to defend the actual sites. And then they realized, oh, okay, we can defend it from a library. Just hold library firm and no problem. And that became a lot easier when Mira came out, and you could use the windows to help hold that library area. But again, still not the most popular strategy, that's for sure, as the common bomb sites that have been so refined of basement and kitchen are typically the ones defended the most.
People are wondering why Diogo just shot all of those windows, and it's something that gets asked a lot in Pro League chat and online. The reason why? Because it's very common for a Valkyrie to shoot out those windows and either A, toss a cam out there. I mean, there's a number of opportunities for Valkyrie to get a camera to spot anybody pushing onto that main garage, but also, and most importantly, you can toss a C4 out that window and get a neat 1, 2, or even 3 piece just by the main garage. These are some nice cams being shown right now. First kill is going to go to Astro, and there will be no entry from Diogo. The Buck dispatched very quickly. Astro playing upstairs in Master. He's well off-site, 2 floors above the bomb site. And he will at least be rewarded with 1 kill. That one Valk cam, though, spotting a push just outside of the bar doorway, waiting for one to ascend up on the stairs, and Gohan will light up the twitch of one, though one will be able to get away with his life still intact. As we get very close to halfway, and BRK still struggling to find where they're going to push from. I would imagine probably would have been a trophy, or probably would have been a wine push with that 5 operator composition.
Yeah, well, they aren't really seemingly setting up for a wine push right now, possibly because they lost the Buck early on. They want to reevaluate and just think about their overall strategy. Gohan going to overheal himself, expecting an engagement, but it's Astro who's going to be the one to exchange fire with the enemy, and Cameraman as well. So now BRK really in a bad spot. Finally, PX will respond. Cameraman in the wine hallway will meet his end. Cyber gets his own, and Astro goes down. So, BRK fighting back, and oh, PX gets Gohan trying to flank from Kitchen, and it's just not happening for FaZe. The aggressive roam actually working against them. Now, Cyber and PX have a very good position to win this out. They've also got the Valkyrie of Mav, looks like trapped in the hallway of wine. He won't be able to rotate back to site very easily. Now, it comes down to BRK learning this, though. Cyber has to drone the corner. Will he or will he not? He commits to droning. Mav has been detected, and he's going to rotate back through rotation hole, it seems. Or possibly in, yes, there we go, in the wine closet. E1D popping off, and Mav will choose to hold in that hallway firm. He gets hit by his smokes through the wall, so a little bit of HP lost. E1D is now over, and the push didn't come out from BRK, but Cyber should still have one or two. Moringa using his last gas canister. Oh, Cyber's behind, and it looks like the rotation from PX could yield a plant. Cyber peeking the long angle. He has the ACOG, he has the advantage. Moringa goes down. Mav now, the final defender, has been completely outwitted. With only 1 second left, the diffuser is going down. Mav has to push now or never. And it's already been planted, so now the situation even worse. He's gonna have to take control over connector. The C4 might just do that, but it misses. Mav now peeking the corner, gets a nice headshot onto Cyber. One more though, goes for the reload, bad timing, and PX will clutch it out.
As the prophecy foretold, BRK had the magic of consistency, and this mirror match will continue as BRK manages to steal a round away. It started out strongly in FaZe's favor, but BRK made adjustments where they needed to. They hunted down the roamers quite swiftly, and even though there was only 2 of them left, you saw some excellent teamwork from BRK there to be able to have Diogo and PX basically bully their way across the map and then completely rotate with 15 to 20 seconds left on that clock, completely outplaying FaZe and forcing FaZe to essentially have to retake one of the 2 bomb sites after they doubled up on that wine cellar push, which, yes, did appear to be where BRK were going to be pushing from before, but they managed to pull it off inside a snowmobile garage. That was textbook from BRK on how you outwit your opponent, and I'm very impressed with the way they played that. FaZe just simply had no answer.
Couldn't agree more. I mean, it looked like FaZe were trying to respond heavily to the wine cellar pressure in the later half of that round. You know, the curious thing for me, though, all that aside, the late game plays from BRK, FaZe had such an advantage. I believe that was a 2 versus 5, and they just started throwing it away 1 man at a time, peeking into their opponents. And that is, as much as it was a textbook take and outplay for the last 2 players of BRK, Cyber and PX, I believe, it was also kind of a pretty significant throw from FaZe. They had such an advantage, and all they needed to do was anchor and wait out the clock.
You are correct. I had said Diogo by accident. I was reversing the scoreline at the time. It was PX and Cyber. But still, no matter who it was, it was still played exceptionally well by the 2 remaining operators, and they deserve a lot of commendation for that style of play. One will go with a bit of an odd rotate with 30 seconds into the round, because that's about the time that people start to pre-fire that trophy window, and could find yourself getting picked off by a shot or 2.
Yeah, be very careful of that kitchen window. As you can see, there are still players on that rock. I believe that is Mav. Can't quite tell. Yes, I believe it is Mav on the Lion, who is using the long angle from the rocks outside just to look for those kills. I mean, it's common in every level of play that you'll see someone on that position just looking for those kills. So. But, of course, he'll rotate off it eventually. Now, the Buck of Cameraman has 2 options when attacking kitchen, really. You can either come from above and open up all the vertical game from the top floor and trying to get those anchors, or you can go from below. It really depends on what site you want to pressure. Do you want to go into A, or do you want to go into B? If you're going into B, below is a better option. If you want to go over towards A, or cut off rotation to B, possibly, then you can go to the top floor. And that's what FaZe are going to be doing with their Buck. It's also very worth noting that Cameraman can cut off the entire West Lobby rotation that has been heavily utilized by both teams by opening up the floor, or opening up the floor inside a bathroom.
So right now, all they're going to do is FaZe is take away that area for BRK to sit comfortably. An already somewhat claustrophobic and unenjoyable site for defenders will become even less so, or even more so rather, and even less comfortable as Cameraman takes all of that away, as you said. Though Navi's will be able to steal away a kill onto FaZe. Gohan falls, PX gets away with just a short piece of his life, and that is the IQ gone. I don't think, as FaZe had been using that IQ to try and find the Valkyrie cams, they had seen much success. And success is not really something that FaZe is having much of this round at all. They are very struggling. They're struggling very much with the defense that BRK has set up, though PX will needlessly feed himself to the the F2 of Astro just inside of Dining Hall. Navi's is there as well to potentially push up, and we'll get stopped in this red light, green light meta, allowing FaZe to reposition themselves. Moringa dives inside of the window in Trophy, and through that barbed wire he will swim, but still get a kill as one is off the board, and now the Hibana tasked with getting the plant down as Astro does some covering fire. It's Navi's pushing up onto West Main. He'll punish Astro, and that is it for the member of FaZe. Diffuser goes off successfully, and BRK trails in man count by 1. And they'll wait to see, though. Mav will get down to just 1 HP before Navi's takes what little was left away. And both he and Cyber are still around, but before the Lion fell, the EE1D will go off, leaving us with just over half of the defuse for BRK to retake. You'll see Cyber using some of his stim pistol, and Navi's from above will challenge onto the master bathroom and look to see if there's going to be a rotate. All FaZe needs to do at this time is just waste time. Navi's peeks the wrong way, cameraman catches him looking, and it's Cyber now inside of Trophy. He's gonna push in and see the prone Hibana, but too late. Moringa takes the head off of Cyber, and with it, will take the round, leading FaZe onto match point, only 1 round away from meeting Black Dragons in the playoffs.
A good attack there from FaZe. I want to highlight that I believe that is the second time Moringa has simply vaulted in through the B window, gone prone, and killed whomever is anchoring in the back of B site. Very good job to him. That is not an easy execution for anyone, anywhere.
And both times it was the smoke as well. And you could see it looked like Moringa actually dove in through the smoke and immediately hit the deck, and then just wriggled his way. So, well played by Moringa, but more than that is a smart play from Moringa, a big misplay from BRK. Navi's, who was playing at the main entrance to the kitchen, just by the dining room table, should have been able to get that angle all the way to the trophy window, but it was BRK, I believe it was Astro who pushed at that point as the Twitch to draw the fire away from Navi's. Could have happened. We didn't see it on camera. However, once Moringa was in Trophy, the Ella of Navi's was inside of West Main. Now, speaking of the depth of FaZe earlier in the matchup, you saw very briefly on your screen there, there is still one member of this match who has yet to find their way onto the scoreboard, and that is none other than one of the top performers from before, and that's Gohan. Cameraman's mirror goes down and has a life expectancy of roughly 0.2 nanoseconds before the Twitch of 1 is able to take that out, and that will essentially completely take out any advantage that FaZe had from holding in library from above, a strategy that we'd seen a couple rounds ago being employed by them, but will not really be successful as they're robbed of the ability to hide behind that mirror.
I mean, they did use it a couple rounds back, but they didn't really utilize it. They put the mirror window down, they just didn't play the mirror window, which is kind of an interesting thing that FaZe has been doing a whole lot of, especially over by that library. But Moringa will actually seemingly try to contest the library regardless of not having the mirror anymore, and he could definitely pull it off. He's been having a pretty decent job of roaming so far, especially with his teammate of Mav. They have been a good duo roam, so I'd like to see them play together more. Of course, BRK doesn't want that, as they want to get this into overtime so they can go to that third map. Now, should we get to it, it will be Oregon. And BRK, while at a significant disadvantage right now, could easily swing that back around.
Right, the round count at the moment is 9-4 in favor of FaZe. Last time we saw Mav relaxing in the wine cellar just by all of those wonderful barrels of whichever they may be fermenting. He was asleep at the wheel and snoozed off and got punished by the Zofia of BRK. No Zofia for them this time, but surely there will be an entry downstairs. As well, it's important to note that as BRK gets the leadoff kill on the Moringa, that's the mute that will no longer be available for FaZe. He was playing just inside a dining hall. He'll be gone, and that will necessitate Astro to get back to site. You see him leap down off of the stairwell and push into West Main as the second, I believe, EE1D will now go and freeze FaZe in place. Now, one thing that often isn't shown on screen is how much, I guess, room the attackers are able to take while that EE1D is underway, and there are certain teams that stall out and don't use it to their full advantage.
Yeah, absolutely, and it seems like just that is happening here. BRK, with only a minute left, haven't much going on, really. They've got control over that top floor, and they're starting their assault through the west lobby, but they're struggling with the overall push. C4s are still well in hand for FaZe. Oh, Mav narrowly dodging some shots from the top floor. I'm not sure what that C4 was intended for, but but it will not see a result. Cyber will get Astro, and this defense is starting to fall apart for FaZe, but oh no, what's this? Mav moving his way up the west stairs, and no one's watching it from the attack, but the sound will give him away, but no! Diogo doesn't check! Mav will get the kill and top floor control with it! Camera gets one, Gohan gets another, and FaZe have just shifted this yet again! With only 15 seconds, they look to lock out this series. BRK with just Cyber and PX, they have to go for a full engage, and it's just not gonna happen. Cyber starts pushing the main hallway, Camera not aware of it, but it might not matter. A double, oh, what just, BRK against all odds. Cyber and PX yet again, that's the second clutch for this duo, and they will keep BRK alive.
Absolutely astonishing to see that played out, and I don't know what it is. We
didn't even get to see it. It was so fast.
PX and Cyber just have some form of synergy that is currently transcending time and space here, and are putting on an absolutely incredible showing for this team, and now on 2 occasions have single-handedly kept, or I guess duo-handedly kept, this team in the running. And that was a round that absolutely should have gone in favor of FaZe with the way it was played. It wasn't a wise idea for Cameraman to re-peek that destroyed mirror window, sure, and then from that point on, it just all fell apart as Cyber was able to get 1 kill, or PX able to get the first kill, and then Cyber batting cleanup. This will put BRK once again on defense.
How often do you think we've said that today? Absolutely should not have been what it was.
From my back of the hand math here, there's about 4 or 5 rounds that should have gone the other way and did not.
It's been an odd match for BRK and FaZe alike. FaZe, though, still at match point. BRK is going to have to get 1 more round. But after that clutch, you got to feel that they are really in a good, I mean, just mentally, you have to expect them to be prepared to clutch this out.
And I think in the game of expectations, you're now 1 away from forcing overtime on FaZe's map. FaZe coming into this was, I think by a lot of people, expected to win, though I don't want to take away the effort from BRK on this season so far. But I mean, if you just simply look at the track record of both these teams, you have, you know, the prestige of FaZe, and then going back to when they were Font and how good they've been. The idea of FaZe/Font missing a LAN is almost inconceivable, and that's exactly what would happen if BRK were to prevail in this series. It's something that, you know, would have to date back a number of seasons.
To be fair, it's not so long ago we were saying not seeing Ents at a LAN was inconceivable, and yet here we are.
Right.
I mean, there's so much potential in Siege for the inconceivable to actually be conceivable through the gameplay. And that's, I think, one of the things that makes CG Sports so interesting is the dynamic play that will always show through. And, you know, even in the meta that we find ourselves in right now, each team finds a way to be unique in their own right. And that's really what this is all about.
So whether it's been a team effort or a standout performance from 1 or 2 individuals, the fact that BRK has been able to hang as well on Chalet, and it might just continue on for them as Mav looked almost assuredly like he was going to start things off, but Diogo counter punches and that MPX just tears right through the Lion. Not really something that you'd say every day, but that is it, and with it the EE1D's gone. Astro looked to see 1 or 2 bodies beneath him, but maybe in his haste just simply overlooked them. They do have time available. There's only been half of the round gone, but 1 now punishing Moringa, and that's your Hibana. They have gotten the hatch from above, so that shouldn't be too much of an issue for them, but at least some of that destructive power of the ex-Kairos will go down. And I mean, once Hibana does her job, she becomes a fragging machine, so killing power off of the board. That'll leave at least the Ashe and the Twitch to carry a lot of that weight.
It was not so long ago that we were looking to see FaZe lock this out in a 2-0 for the series, and now BRK in top form to deny them that. Now they've got to win more rounds after this, but it looks like they're going to at least get overtime as Navi's gets Gohan. Now Camera and Astro in a 2 versus 5. They have 45 seconds and a lot of control, but what will it really give them? Astro will get Cyber, but he gets lit up by the defender over by Chimney, who seems to be giving away his position right now. Camera pushing aggressively. Will he find this defender? Yes, he will. But Diogo, before being found, gets Astro, putting it now to a 1-on-3. Camera, again, position, but man disadvantage, time disadvantage, everything against him, really. And he's going to lob down a nade just to cover his aggression, the sound, and all things like it. hits the Gersmont, and Navi's will respond. Cameraman goes down. BRK put it into overtime against, I would say, most expectations.
So what happened there for FaZe? The big issue was that they just weren't able to entry as effectively as they want. And there's been a couple rounds actually where FaZe's entry has been very insufficient. Now, some of that falls on BRK's defense, but for me, just looking at it from the glances that we've had, it's been the fact that FaZe hasn't really done their homework in terms of droning. They've pushed in, maybe sometimes alone, and those solo entries are getting eaten alive by BRK, who have found a second wind, or a fifth gear, if you may, as Chalet has gone on. Now, keep in mind, it was only a couple rounds ago where it was 3-1 in favor of FaZe. We now head to overtime, and it will be FaZe starting on defense, just as they did in round number 1. BRK's attacks, though, have looked very succinct and in time with one another, especially when it's been Cyber and PX left to contend with FaZe, and they have been on a whole other level. Now, PX hasn't been the one to really be on the scoreboard. He's been empowering Cyber, but very quietly, Navi's on defense, on roam, has been so important for BRK. He has had a couple opening engagements where he has been able to take the first entry from FaZe out of the equation, and that gives a lot of breathing room for his team to coalesce around the fact that they have an advantage in numbers.
Right you are. I mean, the advantage in numbers, it's so weird, but it just doesn't seem to be the end-all be-all like it normally is in this match. Now, we talked about it earlier. It just, every time you see what would appear to be a decisive round in one team's favor, you better second-guess yourself. You better just give it a little bit more time, because these rounds tend to go haywire in the last 15 seconds.
In 30 seconds, a bit of a slow start. Once again, BRK loves to do this. They really enjoy spending about 30 to 40 seconds into the setup period, still getting everything established for them. That looked to be a grenade that damages both Mav and Gohan, and now Cameraman will lose some of his health too, as tons of projectiles soaring in from the arms of BRK. Doesn't find a casualty, but still lands and does some damage to the intended target. Now it will be a very swift push into the garage as a Sledge and Buck combo will claim one of the Miras. This has been a strategy as well that FaZe has been utilizing, where they put a Mira up on the wall inside a trophy staring at West Main. But there's only really been one round where we've seen it be extremely effective. Most of the times it gets negated very quickly by it being taken out by a Twitch drone or from being shot from below.
Speaking of below, FaZe is going to keep their emphasis on that roam downstairs. And BRK seemingly setting themselves up to take from the B window. It's a very dangerous push. They're also pressuring from kitchen window, also extremely dangerous. Overall, BRK, while they have had some pretty amazing rounds so far in the last 2 or 3, they are not exactly in a good position right now. And they're going to have to find some other avenues, which is going to be just their goal, as you can see them moving to the top 4. Now they're going to have to be wary of Gohan, who has his heartbeat detector out and is C4 primed and ready. And it could very easily be a free kill for him.
Now for me, I'm going to keep my eye on Moringa. He's downstairs with Mav. That's 2 members of FaZe who are just hanging out in the garage. They have the opportunity to come back through the main lobby stairs and then push in through Fireplace. And they're going to basically be in a situation where they either get pinched when they try to re-entry, or they are going to be the undoing of BRK if the flank watch doesn't work out. Gohan right now is sitting just by that trophy room window. He's got 1 member of BRK at the moment on his heartbeat sensor as the entire environment around him goes down. BRK is going to storm into trophy. They get 2 opening kills and make that a 3rd, as BRK has managed to bounce back from a severe deficit and look to be able to sweep this round away. The plant goes down and Moringa tries to retake, and now it's going to be up to Mav. The flank watch of BRK doing more than their fair share. Mav is frozen outside of double doors, very briefly sees the head of 1 attacker, but cannot connect all of those shots. That's Navi's the Sledge, who will take some damage, but now Mav will get pushed. He'll take out Cyber, somehow managing to evade all of those impenetrable metal railings, which have taken so many lives away. Sees Navi's prone, but the Sledge is going to get the best of him, and it's now BRK with their very first lead since round 1, putting it on match point.
I would like to briefly point out that the vast majority of the attacker wins on that kitchen hold have come as a result of attackers simply vaulting in through the B window. What's up with that? It's an odd thing to see. It is extremely uncommon. Typically, the B window into Trophy is the single most defended point for a lot of the, or well, for most teams defending that site. I mean, the reason being, of course, that if you even only have 2 anchors, they are both going to be looking at that window. Maybe not all the time, but they will both have a line of sight to defend that window. And yet, in that round, we had 3 in a position to hold it. 2 of them died on the initial entry, and there were no casualties for that initial entry from BRK. Interesting round, that's for sure. But just honestly, you could chalk it up to BRK vaulting through the window and winning fights.
I also think another part of why we haven't seen as many successful holds through that trophy room window is the buck play above. A lot of the times, both of these teams have used their buck to completely cut off any situation where the defenders can sit comfortably and watch that unless they are playing at the dining room table. There's just no opportunity because they are always worried about somebody pushing them from above or even potentially below, because both teams have also put a lot of presence on the garage underneath the site.
There's of course also just the dead anchor, your common default anchor in B. But that player on both teams seems to be struggling every time, and is a big emphasis, or a big point of focus rather, for the attackers when they vault the window. So just I'd say you're right. Good job dealing with the close anchors in kitchen and the like, the rotation from the hallway, thanks to the buck, and then following that up with very attentive entry onto the player in the back of B. And then also a decided lack of play on the dining table, or if there is anyone playing dining table for defense, no shots hit really.
As well, you've seen both teams use frag grenades to space out the defenders. They've used that very successfully, and almost all of those frag grenades have soared through the window over top of the main garage towards that wall dividing Trophy Room from West Main. And that's part of why they can't stand there and force people out. And I don't know how many times you need to say just how unfortunate it feels to have to defend certain parts of that trophy room because of the very design of the room. So now FaZe Clan staring down the barrel of a 3rd map. It'll be a tiebreaker on Oregon, and maybe no 2-0 looming for them. Their fate will rest on how successful their entry can be. They've managed to take control of Master in the first minute. Everything routine thus far. Gohan, though, rather, will watch the window into Trophy to see if there's going to be a rotate. Very unlikely that somebody from the defense would rotate this late in the round.
You know, just a few rounds prior, I believe it was FaZe who was up 4-2 on Chalet, who were looking very strong to just get the outright win. But it's seemingly shifted very heavily. BRK finally reading their opponents. Now they're going to be defending against FaZe, who has taken the top floor. You can see they're trying to open up plenty of angles, but they're not. Again, we've talked about FaZe's time management, and we can reference it again here. They're not being very efficient when it comes to clearing that top floor. They've only now just managed it with a minute left, and they're going to start opening up the holes, but they aren't going to be able to utilize them as well as they potentially could because there's not much time. Interesting angle being played by Navi's. That was extremely close to a death, but he's going to maintain his life and position. Diogo still roaming over by Library. You can see PX trying to contest the holes that have been opened up. Something that people often forget is those are 2-way angles, and you have to be careful of the defenders shooting up as much as the defenders have to be careful of you shooting down.
PX will get frozen in place on top of the foliage just by the double doors of Kitchen, and BRK frozen in place. They will now be able to roam yet again. Cyber will come up through blue stairs and pressure just by the stairs, but what a grenade from Cameraman. He'll take one down in spectacular fashion, and you can see that Navi's loses some health as well. Cyber runs outside, will be detected ever so briefly. That will attract the attention of one, but now FaZe with 2 early kills onto BRK. And I say early because there's only 10 seconds left in the round, and they will need to collapse on this site, as will BRK, as most of them are nowhere near the site itself. Astro gets 1, and Moringa down to PX as he charges back into the site. The diffuser is successful for FaZe, and now PX and Diogo left up. So we'll see if PX can work with Diogo any better than he does with Cyber. He'll get 1 kill, or he'll almost get it down in West Main, but Astro finishes that off as he pulls out the Magnum, and PX will have 4 members of FaZe and a diffuser to deal with. He confronts one at the window with Trophy, but cannot land enough shots. FaZe will just simply pinch him, and we will go to overtime of overtime. Neither team, or rather both team, technically, on match point, and that will be the first loss for BRK in 3 rounds.
I believe we've only seen Kitchen except for 1 round.
That is correct. It has been all attack so far. We've seen Garage 1 time.
I mean,
we're not going to see it again, though.
It hasn't been all attack wins. It's been entirely focused like on attack. And in the one time we only seen an attack win, I think, once before so far.
It's currently 8-2 in favor of attackers.
Twice. Correction. Thank you. I mean, it's been an interesting map, that's for sure. And on that last round, what happened, Parker? Did somebody vault through the B window uncontested again? Was that Moringa again? Was that the 3rd time he is single-handedly vaulted through that B window, entered into B site, and got control? There was the nade from below, or actually rather from above, excuse me, that managed to get the first anchor, but the follow-up anchor just couldn't beat Moringa on the vault.
To be fair, FaZe were able to get 2 early kills to alleviate some of that presence that BRK had to watch that window. So, I mean, I think it's less egregious to hop in through the trophy room window once you've already taken a number of the defenders out. I mean, we're not looking at a scenario here where, you know, they had 4 or 5 defenders left and you just allow the entire attacking team to clown car in through the window and take control of the site.
I'm not necessarily trying to imply that it's a terrible, egregious sin that the B window as a push is not being thwarted. I'm saying that we've seen it from both teams a multitude of times so far, and neither team seems capable of countering. And, you know, we saw in that last round, for example, BRK stacked so heavily on the B side. They put 2 people in B, 1 person next to B, just waiting for their opportunity to deny that window. Now, this is interesting. Astro with a bullet hole angle into Big Garage, but will he see the inevitable push? Goes for a spray to open up some more of the wall, and probably just to bait out some shots once one of the attackers moves their way in. So a dangerous play, that's for sure, from the Jaeger, but it could work out for him. Smokes and gas grenades going over towards the B window. An aggressive play from Gohan will get 2, using his smokes and SMG-11 both. Finish off PX with a shotgun, but BRK falling apart at the seams as they lose yet another. Astro downstairs, likely using his angle he set up previously to hold that main garage. BRK now in a 2 versus 5, but they have plenty of time. This has been an extremely fast round. You could see BRK trying to lean on that B window yet again, but finally, FaZe will read it.
That's a very bold strategy to pay off when you were looking at possibly finding your season coming to an end. Now, unfortunately for BRK, they do not have Cyber and PX as the dynamic duo to carry the rest of the round, who have a 100% success ratio when they're the last 2 members of the team alive on Chalet. They will instead go with Diogo and 1, and we'll see if there's any possible killing potential in these 2 operators. Gohan, who has had a bit of a slow round so far, kept everything alive on that push. He'll now see if there's going to be a lion, and Gohan just peeks a little too early. Diogo takes Gohan out of the equation. And could BRK be mounting their comeback? In 40 seconds, they've been able to get 1 member, and it's the Smoke, who still had 2 gas canisters left. Neither of those will, of course, be useful. And Diogo, very briefly, sees the feat of what appeared to be the Mira of Cameraman. Will now look through trophy room window, knows they have to fetch that diffuser, and that is going to be the most difficult task, is that really the only way to get that diffuser is to storm in through that window. But 30 seconds left. 1 inside of Bar Gaming can begin to attack double doors. There's going to be somebody watching it. You can see them prone inside a kitchen. But will they be able to contend with the F2? No clue. 1 doesn't know where he is. Astro gets the kill and finishes it off with a second, as FaZe will battle Black Dragons in the playoffs next week. But for BRK, their season comes to an end at the hands of FaZe.
Really heavy-hearted loss there for BRK. What an attempt at a comeback, but it just wasn't enough. They needed some more rounds in the early first half of the map, and they just could not get them. And as a result, we'll see FaZe take it quite decidedly.
That was a very close matchup. It looked for a couple minutes here that we were going to see a 10-4 in favor of FaZe, but no. BRK managed to really stick the landing on a couple of those attacks, and oh my. So we do see the 3rd defensive win, and it comes at a very good time if you're a